Baseball's a funny sport. Can we all just agree on that one? It's not a sport that, out of all the American sports, I've ever really warmed to, and that's weird to start that off by saying that. And I'm going to talk about it. But anyway, baseball is a sport I also barely understand. It's like rounders with steroids or cricket with corners. It is one of the few American sports that I can't instantly connect to, largely because of the investment in time, not because of the sport itself. I think the sport itself is fantastic when you watch it in isolation. But whereas an NFL team, all the 32 teams play 17 games in a regular season these days, obviously a lot more than they used to. Each one of the 30 MLB teams plays 162 games. That's 2,430 games versus the 250 odd NFL games you get every season. But you might ask, on a podcast about virtual fantasy football, why am I talking and complaining about baseball all of a sudden? And yeah, after all, you guys came for the virtual pigskin. There is one thing that I do find interesting about baseball, though, and it is the love of stats and advanced analytics. But not in the way you might think, because this podcast will never become an advanced analytics podcast. I am not for the go for it fourth and one. I don't understand the reasoning behind that, and I'm not going to delve into the really advanced stuff and build my own models. I'm an interpreter for the masses. I neither have the time nor the brain capacity for it. I mean, earlier in this series, I did some light comparables and did a bit of deep diving. However, that took more brain power to cut through the noise of ADOT, DVOA, WAR. I know what two of those mean anyway, and all the other 3 and 4 letter acronyms that you have within the analytics space. There are, of course, comparables made up, but it's not a promise. But again, that's not what got me interesting. The thing that piques my interest is actually a concept that is very much dumbed down in a Brad Pitt movie, Moneyball. Hey, he said the title. I was actually thinking about this on a train yesterday when I was watching a YouTube short about the different phases of Brad Pitt and how he becomes more cerebral in his movies as he's gone beyond A-lister and given back to the more the indie side of things. Moneyball was definitely at the top of the indie tree, but it for me was a very interesting movie because it blended sports and people, and people was at the heart of everything we do here. And it introduced me to a concept that was dumbed down, I agree, but it introduced me for a concept called Moneyball, and which is for the uninitiated of you all, for those who don't understand the concept. It's in baseball is finding multiple players who can add up to the output of a single player, whilst reducing your overall spend, the money, and decreasing your reliance on superstars who either A, become prone to being overworked, big long season, and potentially injured. Or B, potentially injured. In the real life NFL world, this is a concept that is used in isolation, but particularly, you can look at the world of running backs. Running back by committee, RBBC, yet another acronym, where the use of a first and second down back is complemented by a third down pass protector, receiving back. It gives us a similar value to what is a true workhorse. And if you think, if I've got 2 or 3 guys who can do the job of a Saquon, no one can do the job of a Saquon, but you could get similar outputs to that. That's really what teams are going for. And outside of the top 3 or 4 guys, the Christian McCaffreys, the Saquons, the Bijons, and probably another, I don't know, who are real difference makers, star running backs do not get paid as much because you can pay 3 guys to do the job of 1 guy. And their Moneyball replacements will give you similar results. There are positions in football that this doesn't work for, however. QB is a leader and isn't necessarily situational in the same way that running backs are, and that all baseball players are as well. All baseball players, they have specialized roles, but it's very situational. However, this didn't stop the Steelers from experimenting with 2 QBs last year. Lamar being introduced when in his first season as a runner in packages, whilst Flacco still had the helm of the Ravens at the time. And it'll be interesting to see, I think, if Jalen Milroe actually comes in packages for Sam Darnold. These are all Moneyball plays in a little bit of a way. You may be paying one of them, but not the other, to get an output of someone like a Lamar of today, the situational flexibility that you get out of Josh Allen on the goal line, for example, that might be where, Jalen Milroe's used. Taysom Hill is maybe another example as well, where he's used so situationally. He's the ultimate joker. But these are rare examples, and we maybe have half a dozen non-successful examples, really, and none of them really won a Super Bowl, of this Moneyball-ish QB in the last 15 years. But again, this is not about real football, this podcast. It's about fantasy football. What can we take from this and apply to fantasy football? Let's take an example. An obvious superstar for any format you're using is Jamar Chase, the number one wide receiver, connected to Burrow. You're going to want to have him there. If you have him in any format, you know that he can win you weeks, which can win you regular seasons, which can put you in the mix of winning a championship, and ultimately put you in a great position for winning game days. He is a high ceiling, high floor player. He's the kind of player you want. Let's say I want to trade for him. And this is a trade package I saw on Twitter, by the way. So, it's not unheard of here. I head to my nearest trade calculator and see what I've got. And I put in some players. I've got Breece Hall, player I could do without, potentially. Maybe he's your running back 2. Maybe you've seen, okay, well, if an upside of true wide receiver 1 against running back 2, yeah, maybe that's right. But people value running backs really highly because of their scarcity. You've got Rome Odunze, is a player that would instantly replaced by Jamar Chase, so I can put him in the pile as well. And I've got Jaden Reed sitting around as a flex. So for my wide receiver 1 that I want, true wide receiver 1, the wide receiver 1 probably, I'm giving away a fringe wide receiver 1-2, a fringe wide receiver running back 1-2, and a wide receiver 3-4. On paper and on your calculator, it feels like this is fair. And I put this into Quick Keep Trade Cut. Jamar Chase coming out as 99999. Obviously, all the nines. He is the best player. A value adjustment 14,000 when you're looking at the volume of players here, and we'll get into that in a minute. Breece Hall, Rome Odunze, and Jaden Reed come out 2,000 better. I know which side I want, and this trade would not be fair on the Jamar Chase owner of current, the one who's giving away. It is not Moneyball. Now, in the Moneyball movie, the opposition take the ideology state of a feel of a player, and they put a lot of effort into that. They do talk in this movie about, you're probably not doing some fantasy football, but the looks and the ability to sell tickets. But on the field, specifically, they talk about their dominance in a particular category. They do this the best. They are the best at this, etc., etc., etc. And they can win a game by themselves in the right circumstances. The reason Moneyball works in baseball, however, is that you can have huge rosters, and every one of those guys can have their spike weeks. You have to play 162 games, so the average results of multiple replacements being better than a superstar nets out based on volume. It also works a little bit if you think about a real NFL roster, 53 players, you've got a practice squad as well. Having specialists to do one thing can work when building a consistently performing team. In fantasy, we do not have this luxury, however. Even in the biggest formats, you're probably playing a maximum of 15 players, rarely more than 3 in any given position if you're using your flex correctly. With that framing, if to replace the production of Jamar Chase, you need 3 players in any given week, and we're talking about the average expectation here and the value behind it, you're probably getting maybe a bit more. What else are you missing out on? You are missing out on 3 roster positions that could all have given you more points beyond that, lowering your overall ceiling. And ceiling plays, those, the highest heights, are how you win weeks. Floor plays are how you limit your risk of losing. Taking the multiple players is the path to mediocrity. It's damage reduction. It is protecting assets. It's not going after the win. So as a Jamar Chase owner, if I was Jamar Chase owner, you'd have to pry him out of my cold, dead hands. Full circle, what we've learned is what we learned and how can we apply this is what I'm asking. Good players are good. Trade calculators are misleading, and trading without future prospects is hard. I don't think there's any combination of players outside of Justin Jefferson plus that you could get me to get rid of Jamar Chase, and you should take that approach to keep hold of them. This obviously applies to a trade and redraft. It's very different in Dynasty, where you have future trade picks to think about. And in the season, I'll do an episode on how to trade and what triggers to look for. But know that trading needs to take an understanding of the situation, rather than simply the numbers and outputs, which is why trade calculators lie. I think they're a good place to start, to be a deal breaker, but they should not be your first place to go when you're looking at building a trade. In short, Moneyball rarely has a place in fantasy, in my opinion, but you should definitely still go and watch the movie and draft Jamar Chase. Anyway, that's a lot for this episode. A little bit of a longer rant on this one. I just got a bit of a kind of tear on this. If you've liked this kind of stuff, please share it, all of that fun stuff. If you want to support the pod, find us on all the socials at Rugby with Pads, rugbywithpads.com. You can get a membership from as little as £1 a month. They can get yourself some cheaper merch discounts, and we put out some stuff through that channel as well. But thank you so much for listening. As always, if you like this kind of stuff, the best thing you can do is just give us a smile, give us a like, give us a share, all that kind of stuff. The free stuff is what you can do to best grow this, and ask your friends about fantasy football, see if they want to join in. But with that said, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you all very soon